Hi there members. For those who don't know me, I'm Ben Burke. I'm the Vegetation Manager here at Kew Golf Club. I came on board approximately 6 months ago. Before that I've worked at Yarra Yarra Golf Club and Metropolitan Golf Club as Vegetation Managers there. So the last few months obviously been very busy, and today pretty much just going to show you what I've been up to and kind of what the future plans are for the next few months. So we're going to start off at between 1 and 17 and have a look at the vegetation there. Alright, well here we are down at between 1 and 17. So this area was traditionally planted as a landscapey type garden bed. We had lots of large power plants, grasses along the edge, which I found was a little bit too punishing for golfers who were hitting just off the fairway and finding a lot of lost balls in those areas. So what we've done here is actually remove the large powers, and we've transplanted them around the course to, you would have seen them behind the second green, around the fourth tee, and between 13 and 14 in those areas there. So as a result, we've opened up the edges to make it a bit more fair for golfers if a ball does roll in the area. And as a result, we've had lots of these local native grasses pop up on their own. And as you can see, there's literally thousands of little seedlings popping up, and they're filling in the area quite nicely. So these grasses beneficial more so for the golfers. A lot easier to find a ball if you do end up in these areas. As well as it's starting to slowly smother out any weed species that we had in here. So maintaining this area is actually quite easy now, and it's mostly doing the work for me. So these local native microlinas have their native seeds on it, and they're dropping and recruiting on their own now. So it's actually really taking care of itself in here. So very happy with the results at the moment. All right, so here we are at the back of the second green here. So this area, I've done a lot of work over the last few months to improve it a little bit. So when I started here, this area was just a mix of weedy grasses and couch, and it was a bit of a muddy puddle come heavy rains. So what we've done is actually take some of those large powers between 1 and 17 and transplanted them to this area. As well, we mulch the area too, just to make it look a bit nicer and to suppress some of the weeds as well. But as a result, we've actually had a lot of natural recruitment too. We've had these river red gums pop up on their own, which came up in many numbers, but I've thinned them out to just a few, just to give a bit of something to this area. As well as we've left some habitat logs behind me here. And the reason for that is those logs become really good habitat for things like lizards, particularly small lizards like skinks, and insects as well. So really benefits as a food source for birds as well as the local reptile species too. So I think it's a good feature of the hole too, which really brings a lot more to this area than what used to be here. All right, so here we are around the back of the fourth tee here on the left hand side. So this area has been done very recently. Pretty much the process was spraying out the weeds around me. We then put a layer of mulch, and then we've taken the powers between 1 and 17 again and transplanted them to the area. So we're lucky in this area, we've got a large number of river red gums and the billabong. So it's a really nice area just to blend from the tea surrounds to the native surrounds to really have that nice connection to the billabong. And apart from the looks of it, it's really beneficial again. We have a lot of blue-tongued lizards particularly love living under these larger grasses, and in time we're going to introduce a different range of plants as well. So a lot of the smaller grass species and the wildflower species as well, and that will really help to just blend in the whole area and start to cover that mulch. And we'll see a bit more colour as time goes on with the introduction of those plants, and it should start to look beautiful. Here we are at the front tee on the 6th hole here. So I'm just quickly going to highlight just some of the little bits of work going around the course. There's been a little bit of work in terms of creating vistas and opening up viewpoints around the course, and this is one of them. This is we did a small clearing here just so we can highlight the Yarra River and really incorporate that as part of a feature of the hole, which I I hope everyone's enjoying, but we are doing similar things at the back of the 12th green as well. There's been some recent works there to highlight the hottle tree and to also highlight the river back there as well. And as well, we're doing some of that work between the 12th and 13th fairways around the billabong, just so we can get a nice clear view through that area and create those vistas and really start to beautify the place and incorporate the natural assets into the course. Alright, so I'm just standing on the walkway between the 13th green and the 14th tee here. Again, this area was quite a barren area, just full of weeds and cooch. So we've tried to enhance the area again by obviously spraying the weeds out first. In the foreground particularly, we did a lot of mulching there just to cover up that area and make maintenance a lot easier. And then we've taken a lot of those large pulwers between 1 and 17 and transplanted them to this area. So again, this is an area where we've got a lot of natural river red gums all over the place. It's quite a beautiful walkway, and I've tried to incorporate that or really make a blend together from the billabong from green to tee. So along with the pulwers, I've also introduced a number of smaller plant species as well to help fill in those areas, and in time I'll begin to introduce more of those things as well, particularly wildflowers. And that, again, this is a really beneficial area for wildlife. We see a lot of blue tongues through this area, a lot of birds as well. So I'll also introduce a lot of mid-story trees as well to help cover the shed that we have on the course here. And that'll provide habitat in the future as well as beautify the area as a whole. Here we are at the back of the 15th green. As you can see, at the moment we just have a layer of mulch here. Plantings haven't begun yet. And the reason for that is, whilst we've sprayed this area out several times, which was just all weedy grasses previously to the mulch, we're just waiting for that one last flush of weeds to pop up with the winter rains. We'll spray that out, and then we'll introduce our native grasses after that. So the species put in here are going to be those shorter species like the microlina and wallaby grasses. So you won't see any of those larger pulwers through here, because we want to make this area as easy to get a golf shot off as we can. So it will be quite thin through this area, but we will introduce a range of wild flowers as well, which will beautify the area and really help to blend the native area behind the practice chipper as well, and just it'll help to hide the path behind us as well, which is all part of it. So here we are at the 16th tee. This area was planted out approximately 2 months ago during the lockdown. So what I've introduced here is a range of smaller grasses such as the wallaby grasses and microlinas, just to have that low profile through the area. I've also introduced lots of wildflowers as well, which should start to bloom when the warmer weather comes through. So these plants have gone in fairly small, obviously. There's a few reasons for that. Obviously, smaller plants actually adapt a lot better to their local environment. So after all those winter rains we've had so far, they're actually progressing quite well. You might not see a lot of growth, but the roots under the ground are doing their thing and growing into the soil, and once that warmer weather comes, the green growth on top should really start to sprout come September, October, when we get that warmth. Alright, so here we are down at the first carry. So this area was first planted out in around August 2019, and since then it's actually come a long way. So a lot of the grasses that were originally planted have now put up their seeds and dropped them. As you can see, they're starting to reseed again due to all the wet weather. As a result, we've literally got thousands of little grass seedlings sprouting up all over the place, even though they're quite small. Within a few months, we'll start to see them start to get on a bit more size when the warm weather starts to kick in. We've also introduced some more grasses. We did a large planting during lockdown with some of the cafe staff and the kitchen staff, which was a fun day. So that way we've got a bit more thickness in here. We're trying to eliminate a lot of that sandy look, but we don't want to have it too thick as well, because we want a golf ball to be able to roll freely through this area and at least be able to have another shot should you top your ball into this area. So we've done a lot of maintenance in this area too, which has actually been quite easy really. Only a few different weeds have been popping up, particularly broadleaf weeds. So you will notice a few brown patches in here, which are the result of some broadleaf herbicide spraying recently, but those plants will slowly start to whittle away and rot into the soil and add to the nutrients there. As well as the new plants, you will probably notice they are a little bit yellow tinged, and that's because when you put in a new plant, they tend to go into a little bit of shock, and that's a result of them coming out of the nursery where they're usually getting water every day and fertilized every few weeks. Out here, they're only really relying on the natural rainfall and they won't really be fertilized. But once that warmer weather kicks in, they will start to green up a lot more and thicken up and start to look really healthy. And from there, those grasses by the end of say September, October, will start to put in their own seeds and they'll be dropping into the ground, and we will see even further recruitment of grasses. So this area is really starting to roll now in terms of seedling recruitment. So it'll be very exciting to see over the next few months how much growth is put on. So just again on the first carry here, just to show you the recruitment of the plants that have come up as a result of the plantings from last year. So obviously these are the wallaby grasses. As you can see, they've got their seed heads on there, but they've actually dropped seed last year as well. And as you can see in and around this area, lots of little seedlings starting to pop up. So this is happening all over the carry, and that's why come the warmer weather, they're really going to put on a lot of growth and really start to thicken up this area and get rid of that sandy open look.